another edition of XFeed. My name is The Schiller. Today, a whole lot of news. We're not going to go over some sales pitch. Let's just get into it. The death of NFTs from Blurs here. Notice how the name is Blurs, and this is about Blur. The death of NFTs. Over the next week, we will see a majority of bid liquidity on Blur taken off the platform. This is already becoming apparent, which is why the market is significantly down. Now, before we go into the rest of it, have you noticed that the entire space kind of feels a little bit weird? We have the people that are doing things on Blast, and it seems that they're all happy and excited, and for a lot of other things, particularly within certain games that haven't launched or just other collections, it feels kind of down. I don't know how new mints are going to do. It seems the incentive for points and everything is really kind of propping up the entire market, and liquidity is kind of in a weird spot, but let's continue on here. Farmers are content with the amount of points they have accrued during the season and want to exit before others. Blur incentives gives you the opportunity to exit when there was zero outside interest. What happens when incentives aren't there plus no interest? Well, you're seeing the early stages of that. Market psychology is interesting. Investors commonly find excuses to rationalize the downturn in their investment. And notice how we keep using like the term investment for all this stuff at the same time that we have all these collections saying, oh, you're not an investor in it. But of course, everything to do with Web3 right now is majoritively about the money. At some point, I think that changes, but it's still, oh, I want to buy this purely for the sake of flippability for the most part. That final pump you were hoping for will most likely not come, and even if it did, you wouldn't sell. Right, this guy's just fudding the bags here. With a lot of these projects, speculation is dead, and if incentives are driving demand for your investments, what upside remains? And I kind of agree that the speculation, for the most part, has been almost completely taken out of the space, at least from what I've seen on the timeline, apart from some kind of odd things off to the side. And odd purely from me. You might love some of the things out there. But in terms of long-term play, Blur says here that they like punks, then there's a wide gap, and then pudgy penguins and miladies and remilios, and then in their tier 2, Azukis and Ken Pie pandas. Of course, I'm sitting over here talking about Futureverse most of the time. It's never brought up in those. It's very interesting. But what do these different collections have that maybe whatever you hold doesn't? Just ponder that for a second. See if you can come up with anything good. So BeganBot here is a great follow. Love hearing the guy. Also streams every Thursday. Does like a live show. And wait, are there people who think being backed by Animoca brands is bullish? Do you guys remember when everybody was excited when it said backed by Animocas? And this was at the time that Mochaverse, the Grapes collection, there was a whole bunch of different things. And this was also after, way after the ApeCoin initial drop, but Animoca was this big beast in the space that everybody was excited and kind of rallied around because the price action associated with it. And now for a lot of those, it's not really where it was. I think Mochaverse is still holding up quite well, but I don't know if the Animoca excitement is there anymore, and especially within the ApeCoin world, a lot of people just don't like Animoca because of the DAO voting. So this RNS.ID, if you don't know what this is the thing that had like the digital residency, and they posted saying US restrictions. Our director just had a challenging conversation with US regulators. So, these guys are doing like a digital ID. I've seen some people kind of question the validity of it, and regulators obviously stepping in, but they have this thing about how you can help your program. And I was trying to go through like the comments to figure out what is going on. But on this last point here, it says, important to know, acquiring identities from other countries is not against any U.S. laws. Our program is legally legislated by the Republic of Palau, Palau, I don't even know how to say it, and regulated by the Digital Residency Office of Palau. While the program may continue, continue without interruption, there is a risk of potential restrictions to U.S. persons. Although sovereign states are meant to be equal, larger nations often exert significant influence. With only 18,000 of us on the island, your participation and support are crucial. We are committed to standing by your side and fighting for our shared vision, no matter the challenges. So 18,000 people live on an island that you can get a digital residency to. Very, very interesting. But some questions about it. Again, they've used Vitalik and some others on here, but this is kind of just the idea of what it looks like, just so you have an FYI. Now, I see Amphibian here. We were chatting yesterday, and they brought up this old piece from Fluff World. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because we've seen a lot of graphics with the different companies that are partnered with them. And it's interesting that we have Snoop Dogg fully legitimately, because I was always kind of like, okay, are we actually partnered with Snoop Dogg? Are they just using that name because it's a studio? But officially, 100% Snoop Dogg was a part of it. Again, the Weta Workshop, so things to do with Lord of the Rings. That's very exciting. And then, of course, Ripple in here as well. I feel like you don't see Ripple as much across some of the different communications, which I'm not sure whose idea it was with that, but still interesting to see some of the partnerships in an old graphic that way. Okay, so Whale.mocha made this post, and it was about an NFT update and saying what the biggest NFT projects are currently working on. Of course, you're immediately like, okay, do they talk about what I hold? And might not be the case when I'm looking at these off the top of my mind. Okay, we have Pudgy Penguins, we have Chimpers here. This is Mochaverse. This looks like Bored Apes and Other Side combined into one. We have Doodles here, and I think this is like Potatoes, the Captains, and all that, but I'm not entirely. Oh, sorry, that's Sappy Seals as well on the bottom, and so that's Azuki. All right, basically I've nailed all of them except for like one or two here off to the side. But it's interesting that like certain collections are getting focused, and why are these ones getting highlighted comparatively to other ones? So quickly going through here, it's talking about BAYC. Ape Fest ticket sale go live on May 21st. Ape Fest will take place October 18th to 20th in Lisbon. Holders have received 3D files, which has led to significant increase in holder content. Agree. If you haven't seen, basically Apes got 3D files, and everybody went out and tried to figure out how to use those files to create these cool engaging pieces, and it was just kind of watching like small clips on the timeline and thought that it was really cool to see. Pudgy Penguins. Orange Cap Games has licensed community-owned penguins via Overpass. Pudgy Penguins will attend the licensing expo in Las Vegas alongside Pokemon and Riot Games May 21st to 23rd. If you don't know Riot Games, they do Valorant and League of Legends. Azuki, the first episode of the anime series, was released and is approaching 500,000 views on YouTube and great success on Weibo. Anime Chain has launched Gacha Grab, a game in which holders can collect gachas that might be connected to the anime token. Okay, so how are we feeling about this? Are you excited? How many of you end up holding these? For Mochaverse, the launch of the Mocha token is approaching. Public sale was 12x oversubscribed. Missions to collect real realm points, are in full swing, and RP will play a role in the airdrop of Mochaverse NFT and Mocha ID holders. For D-Gods here, this is another collection you might be familiar with. It's kind of swap chains. Frank is a very huge individual within the space, but 3,900 D-Gods have been bridged back to Solana. New merch line Daydrip is launched. Phantom, Cube Exchange, and more institutions have bought a total of 250 D-Gods and Utes. So why am I bringing this up? Mainly just the aspect of we have all these collections that are Web3 native, doing a ton of different things, whether it be on the blockchain or without, highlighting with the Pudgy Penguins how they are doing the expo. And then for Bored Apes, they have an entire event, IRL in Lisbon, where people are able to go and partake in. So Johnny here tweets about Carrot, which is the My Pet Hooligan token that came out, and says, study J-Curve, then study Carrot, a future blue chip gaming and AI coin that is in beta on Epic Games that directly launched on Coinbase. Now, it's interesting that we're kind of highlighting Epic Games because we have seen a lot of different collections starting to get on Epic Games. If you didn't know, Epic previously labeled anything that was blockchain related as M for mature. And I was on a space today, and one of the questions that was asked about it was, how does it work for, or what's the necessary onboarding for payment rails, et cetera, et cetera. And my thought, because everybody's kind of saying the same thing, was, well, okay, we just had this label where everything was meant for adults essentially, but now everybody's starting to realize, hey, these blockchain games and whatnot prefer obviously probably ones that aren't as associated with having some kind of like play to earn aspect to it are going to be potentially for kids and teens. And the only way they're going to do that is with the credit cards. So is there at any point or anybody working on getting gift cards or the access for younger individuals through gas stations or, Walmarts? And somebody responded to me and they said, Pudgy Penguins. And I was like, oh, that's actually a fair point because they have the toys and they can onboard that way. But further to what's going on with this, they're saying AAA game backed by developers from Pixar, Disney, Amazon, Riot Games, EA, NVIDIA. Almost every single Web3 collection out there has players from these spaces in there. And again, I'm not trying to like diss on this. I think it's really interesting because it's saying that's at a 40 mil market cap. And there's a lot of things that have launched that have pretty significant funding, pretty massive amounts of community. There are kind of around this under 300 million range. And, you know, a little bit more adoption of things. Definitely can see things starting to take off. And Alex Becker was saying it'll do nuclear numbers within the next year, one of the easier holds. And so, again, we're just starting to see this narrative of people getting excited about blockchain gaming. So NFT stats here talking about how their pink hair wrecked them. Basically, they collected all these major NFT collections, and if they had the trait of pink hair, and it shows kind of the similarities of the space where it is based off of, you know, similar but different things with it. But a punk they paid 112 ETH for him. They still own it. Moonbird paid 23, still own. CloneX from 19.2 ETH down to 5 ETH. World of Women 8.2 ETH down to 1.9, and Doodles 13 ETH to 4 ETH. Just realize the whole space right now is taking a huge hit on what it was, but also the fact that people don't really trade collect anymore. I feel like that's a little bit interesting. Now, quick plug here, as I've been mentioning, we are doing a real world asset podcast and hosted by yours truly. Here's a little quick clip from it. And again, if you check out the description here in YouTube, you can find the episode as well.
I no longer lead with, hey, look at CryptoPunks, they're worth 15 million, right? For someone new to the space, they don't care and they really just don't understand. Instead, I try to lead with the asset-backed tokens. This watch-backed NFT can be redeemed by anyone in the world for a physical item. And so you're already jumping past the intrinsic value issue because it has intrinsic value. It's backed by a Rolex or a bottle of wine or whatever it is. And I think that sort of perspective is a lot easier to get your head wrapped around than why, let's say, a piece of generative art is worth multi-millions of dollars.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a breakdown for that. And again, Trader Pops, love it, appreciate it. And yeah, so it's called RWA segment, but it's spelled segment as this. And would love for you guys to check that out. Thanks so much. Okay, so Pudgy Penguins here announcing a partnership with Lot Group, a retail and entertainment conglomerate to expand our presence in South Korea and beyond. So anybody within the Futureverse ecosystem, obviously we've seen huge partnerships for them within the Asian region, and I haven't really seen that too much with other collections, but very interesting that Pudgy Penguins are doing that. I tried looking this up just because I'm not super familiar, but the Latte Corporation here, the sandbox game with 21 people. Hello. Thank you so much for the raid. I hope you guys are doing great. Hoddle Hill, the one and only. So it's saying the Lot Corporation is a South Korean multinational conglomerate corporation and the fifth largest Chaebol in South Korea, which I don't even know what that is. So I looked it up and it says Chaebol is an English translation of the Korean word. I have no idea how to say that, which means plutocracy, rich business family, or monopoly. And the Chaebol structure can encompass a single large company or several groups of companies. So basically, it's a big company out there that is working with Pudgies in a partnership way. That's awesome. Hunter, what's going on? Crafter, hell yeah. Saw you streaming the sandbox earlier, sir. Good to see you out there on the timeline. So there was another big prize announcement here within the Web3 space for Aperon. $1 million in prizes, but exactly what kind of $1 million? Are we getting hooved on this? What is it? So the Aperon Guild Wars 2024 is the culmination of years of work. We previously held 2 Guild Wars preliminaries. Now we've arrived at the main event. Guilds from all over the world will compete over a prize pool worth $1 million.
Al yeah,
bro. Thank you for 39 months, Unar. Man's insane. Split between $500,000 in USDC, cash plus tokens, and $500,000 in NFTs. Kind of crazy. Big amounts for it. Very interesting to see the landscape of Web3 gaming. Now, Humanity Protocol. This might be your first time hearing about it. I kind of in the same boat. But big news alert, our founder Terrence just took the spotlight in Bloomberg Business, unveiling our latest round of funding. So they got 30 million at a $1 billion valuation. Now, going through this, of course, this is a paid article. We're not going to go through it all, but Humanity Protocol becomes crypto's new digital identity unicorn. The startup raised 30 million at a $1 billion valuation as it looks to challenge projects like WorldCoin. And what it seems is that these are intended to be like human proof, like a human centric blockchain. Like, sorry, human proof might not be the correct terminology, but trying to avoid AI in a way, talking about the space as a whole. It just, there's all these things that are popping up, and you focus in whatever circle that you're in, but some of these other crazy happenings are going on at the same time. So Charles here is highlighting the Doodles team and saying, powerhouse team, fade at your own risk. The only comment that I would have with this is, I'm reading this as somebody like, okay, like teach me about it. I know Burnt Toast is a big artist. And for these other ones, I mean, these are kind of like just names, right? More or less. So I would love if they kind of gave a little bit more of a breakdown of maybe the history or why it's important to pay attention to what's going on with Doodles. But still, Doodles has been cooking. And of course, Huddle Hill, we love the Doodles. Now, yesterday, this was posted, and I didn't get a chance to bring it up, but I saved it for today. 4 years ago today, or yesterday, Flow blockchain launched, and the devs behind it have had two of the biggest successes in crypto history. In 2020, they released NBA Top Shot on Flow, which was a massive success and ignited the 2021 NFT bull run. In 2017, they broke Ethereum when they launched CryptoKitties and literally created the ERC 721 standard that we use today, Legends. True. Kind of insane to think about the impact that Flow blockchain has had on the space as a whole. Now, this isn't necessarily Web3 related, but just for conversation's sake, we have all these NFTs, all these digital assets, and sometimes there's a game associated with it. Sometimes it's, hey, it's access for it. We talk about the mass adoption. And here's a game that's going for mass adoption. You can buy the standard edition for $70 or the MVP bundle upwards of $150. And my mind kind of got wandering because every time I'm like scrolling on my timeline, I think of the show. And it made me think of concerts of all things. And what if we see music really take off within this whole metaverse narrative? Because if they're able to create a digital experience that people are able to enjoy from home, potentially cheaper than going to these concerts, obviously getting around for some of these cities does cost a little bit, but it can scale. People could go to all of them. I mean, think of Taylor Swift. Do you know how many people would tune in every single time and pay, even if it was $20 entry, to watch all the shows in some kind of a digital way? Now, whether that's through certain cameras, whether that's actually in the metaverse, I think there's a huge role that we could see within the concerts industry within the metaverse. And I don't know why this made me think of it, but it did. I would attend every single concert. Yo, Molten Lava, hell yeah. So speaking of PvP, right? Everybody's talking about how the space is so PvP, and then, is it the holders? And then this was kind of something that I saw and was like, damn, like, is it actually the founders too who dislike each other? And so Metamona yesterday had a roundtable with some different metaverse companies where Sandbox was involved, Decentraland, Wilder World, Featureverse, and Herman, who is a part of Improbable and was running the other side tech, saw that and kind of didn't seem too happy about it. So he was saying, we weren't invited to a top metaverse roundtable. We could have hosted all 2,000 viewers as avatars in M2, and most of the other people you invited have at some point approached us to work with them. And then he says, okay, let's do our own roundtable. And, maybe he didn't mean anything by this, but it's just like, it does feel very, very PvP, even from the founder perspective when I'm seeing that on the timeline. So Justin, U.S. Senate votes to overturn SEC rule preventing highly regulated financial firms from holding Bitcoin and crypto. And this was huge. A lot of people were kind of concerned about this, and they overturned it saying, hey, we don't need to have any kind of limitations for these bigger corporations. So what exactly does that mean for crypto? Did we actually see any price action today over that? And it looks like, not really. We're here, 65K. I know. Well, we got good news in the headlines, but it didn't really change the chart too much. That's the way. Make your own table. Exactly. 100% hodl. So CryptoPunks here making a very interesting announcement, and I think I had this thought a while ago, and it was at the beginning of the year, and I said, for all of these collections, they're going to start having to sell you something, right? Whether it's merch, whether it's more NFTs. I mean, it's just, whenever people feel like, hey, we have products, or they feel the market sentiment is good, what are they going to do? Because a lot of people have, prior judgment of how things are gone, whether they're flippable, if they actually want them, et cetera, et cetera. So CryptoPunks here is doing another collection. Introducing Super Punk World, a 500-piece digital avatar collection hand curated by our first punk in residence, Nina Chanel. Inspired by iconic CryptoPunks traits and conversation with super cool world attributes, the collection utilizes the 3D medium to reimagine the viewing experience of Abney's art through the punk lens, inviting collectors to become a part of her work for the first time. Super Punk World will be exhibited alongside Abney's new body of work at the school and Jack Shaneman Gallery in Kinderhook, New York, from May 18th to October 5th. More details on the collection and auction will be announced soon. Now, I'm kind of ignorant and not super familiar with this, but looking at the comments and what people were saying is this is a really big deal. This is a super big artist, and it's really cool that they're doing something with this, and this is finite as well. A collection of 500 pieces. We're not talking about the 10,000. We're talking about 500. So today, Pump.Fun had a little bit of a situation. Former employee attacks Pump.Fun as 80 million flash loan exploit rock Solana meme coin casino. So in short, basically they worked for it and is upset with the platform and now attacking Twitter. Going through some of the other stuff here. Technical details, yada, 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 yada. The attack and the need for maintenance will test the resiliency of the Solana ecosystem, especially the meme coin casino aspect that Pump.Fun represents. In summary, a disgruntled former employee is publicly attacking Pump.Fun, while simultaneously the platform appears to be undergoing a major economic exploit due to a vulnerability with flash loans. This is causing issues with the token listings and is a blow to Pump.Fun and the Solana meme coin space. So if you don't know, Pump.Fun, apparently you can just like launch any token with absolute ease, and it's like $2 or something. So anybody can do it. And that's why this whole kind of meme coin thing is very interesting to see how that works. Now, again, I just wanted to bring up the space today because I thought it was very interesting where I got invited to kind of speak for this Metaverse Wars. And I don't know, it's just, you're in a room and you're talking with all these people about kind of what they're interested in and trying to tackle some different questions. And I mean, I'm not an expert by any means, given my thoughts of like, hey, how do you get payments accessible for like younger people that don't have a MasterCard? And at the end of it, they asked like what your hot take was. And as I said a moment ago with the concerts, that's what it was. I thought, music has potentially the most to gain from this metaverse narrative. But it's insane how many different spaces there are. So there was this going on, and then there was another big gaming cabal, one that was going on from some big individuals. And it's just insane the amount of people that are paying attention to what is going on in the space right now and trying to be a part of it. I do think that there is going to be a little bit of a rescindance on, hey, we need the bags to moon. It's all about money. Hurrah. And it's going to change to just more enjoyment and not care about that aspect. But because we grew up in the phase of it all being about money, we're still kind of at this awkward in between. And yes, Huddle Hill, shout out to Maddox Makes. Great individual and does a lot of content as well. So if you're wanting to give him a follow, it's at Maddox Makes Art. Okay. So speaking of things that were a little bit made of money and has kind of, some connotations to it, G-Funk here highlighting a tweet from Otto Suman regarding Wolf Game. And so Pixel Vault actually acquired Wolf Game and is bringing it onto their own reboot platform. But in addition to that, they've also done something where they bridged it over to Blast to take advantage of the Blast offering with the Blast Gold, et cetera, et cetera. And we are seeing kind of, when you're looking at this chart, wow, it has got a ton of volume back and people are starting to get excited about things that maybe they thought, hey, what can they do to bring excitement back? Oh, the price is moving. Okay, let's pay attention to what else they're doing because maybe they're cooking something else as well. Now, within that gaming cabal space that was done, I think by like Neo Tokyo, I listened for about like 5-10 minutes, and one of the projects that talked was the Super Champs. First time I've seen it, and so I want to talk about it super quick here and just kind of get your guys' initial reaction. For me, this kind of looks like the Nintendo characters. Was it like Wii's? I don't even know. Anywho, it was on like the Wii. It was like the Wii avatars. But the Super Champs universe is a Web3 gaming and entertainment ecosystem powered by the Champ token. The franchise is set at Super Champs Academy, a fantastical sports themed school where the brightest and most outlandish players in the Super Champ universe live, train, and compete against one another to become the next generation of champions. The Super Champions ecosystem's initial content partner is Joyride Games, a trailblazing games company founded by industry veterans from Disney, Electronic Arts, and Zynga that has already launched 3 top 5 blockchain-powered games and attracted 10 million players. Okay, so first of all, as we just highlighted, a whole bunch of people have the Electronic Arts Disney background, right? So that's, kind of buzzwords, but okay, they've already launched 5 blockchain powered games. That's huge and attracted 10 million players. I just find it so weird that apparently we have these millions and millions of players on these blockchain based games, but I just don't see people talking about it for the most part, except for within like the Ronin ecosystem. I really believe that like Axie Infinity and like Pixels Online does have like a decent amount of players, but like where the hell is 10 million players coming from? It doesn't feel like the space is adopted to that. Maybe it's just like a thing where I don't see it on my timeline, but holy guacamole. The first 2 games in the Super Champs franchise already live. Let's dive in. So kind of quick look on this first one here. The first game, Bullet League, is a platform battle royale loved by millions, featuring paintball-inspired combat and custom arenas, providing smart, snappy, unique multiplayer action experience for players. So right off the rip, what do you think? Kind of cool. Would you end up playing it? Does the vibe suit you? Does it potentially look too kiddish? Do you think, hey, this is exactly the style that I want? I think it looks all right. Very interested to see what it does overall. But again, more things happening within the space. So one thing that I am kind of confused about, and for you Futureverse experts, I would love to hear your take on this, is Open is a metaverse battle royale, big open multi-bio, multi-IP, multi-mode metaverse. Like we have all these terms, right? But we haven't exactly seen what the game looks like. So we're just using what they're calling it. But they're saying that they're or introducing, I should say, their senior game level designer is Christian Reach from Walker Labs. Now, the thing that confuses me about this is that, okay, so this individual is working from Walker Labs. So are they now just kind of completely amalgamated with what's going on with Rediverse, and they're just kind of attaching different people for different roles? I would kind of think that if you're like the senior game designer for something, you wouldn't be with them. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that. Yo, Coffee Attack, what's going on? Any game that talks about getting ready for the masses is a red flag. Well, I mean, I feel like almost every every collection out there has been saying that. So we got a lot of red flags, if you know what I mean. But that's the only thing. And so this is cool, where like they say specifically they were a part of Machine Games, Wolfenstein Games, and a senior level designer at Fish Labs, which I'm not super familiar with, but still cool little backgrounds. But it is odd. I kind of feel that like somebody's like the senior level of something, but they're also a part of like a different company. And then like I didn't think they were combined, but maybe they are. Listen, I gotta do my research. Holy smokes. Okay, so Dave here unfortunately had a hack that happened, and he's been posting a lot about it. And I'm always like, oh my God, whenever somebody says I got hacked, like give me the details. I want to know in case like I did something potentially wrong, or, whatever happened, so we can react instantly. So he says, I was played by hackers around the raise for Valty_IO for weeks and doing due diligence before we had a call today. This hurts even more because I've been grinding in all my spare time for years to work to get to this raise, and from that I was hacked. More later. Okay, so when I click on this Vaulty thing, it's got like 300 followers. It's got a cryptoed profile picture and saying connecting collectors like never before. It doesn't feel like there's a whole lot going on with this. I guess like the aspect that maybe they had some mutuals that were associated with this, and again, like I recognize a lot of names on here, and if they were like, hey, like I mean, Axie Infinity apparently is even following this. So how did they get scammed by it? I don't know, but geez Louise, guys, try to be safe out there. If anybody reaches out, be extra cautious. We are a few cycles away from the masses accepting crypto. Make a game that degens like to play and then scale from there. Yo, buddy, good. Yo, thank you, Coffee. I appreciate you. Yo, yeah, you ever get those like cool like branded creamers? You know what I mean? Like the Starbucks caramel macchiato. Got that the other day. Holy hell! I feel like those things are super unhealthy, but love coffee. But you'll make a good point, right? Where are these games having to involve crypto at all? I don't think so. I think that you do have to hide the tech for the most part, but that is not really the case. And to onboard anybody for these games, it is hey, get a wallet, get an exchange, send money, flip a token, buy something else, bridge it. And it's just like, why? Right? If you have a hard enough time getting people that are already in the space to go do it, then that means, right? So Gen Music AI is something we've talked about with Featureverse because again, like I cover Featureverse a lot, but it is there's a reason for it because they've talked about how they have gotten the licenses for everything that they are building the music off of as kind of artists, right? Like if you create something and then somebody goes and makes like an AI rendition of it, well, technically, like you're, should you get compensation for that? And so there was a massive headline today that was from Sony Music, and apparently they sent letters to 700 plus AI companies, developers, and music streaming platforms warning over the unauthorized use of Sony's content and training AI. That is massive. When people start cracking down on these things and it's not kind of wimbly nimbly, if you will, what happens with the space? How many things also potentially get hit with a massive fine? They can't pay it and they just shut down entirely. It's another thing that's a super legitimate concern. And apparently, Pump.Fun is back and the trading is live with 0% trading fees because they got exploited for $80 million. And again, to launch a coin that is instantly tradable for under $2 in any click. What a degen world we live in. That's it for this edition of XFeed Coffee Attack. Love that you swung through today. Hope you're doing well. Hoddle Hill as well. Thank you for coming through. I don't know if it was you, Kraft, or who suggested the raid, but both of you are legends. Molten Lab, appreciate you coming through, and the one and only Hunar. Hell yeah, Brew. And Trader Pops, of course. We will see you tomorrow. Good sir.